Corals are animals related to jellyfish which form a symbiotic relationship with a particular type of algae. The algae provides food through photosynthesis and the coral provides shelter and nutrients. When water gets warm or the corals are otherwise stressed, the algae are expelled from the coral. This is coral bleaching. As the algae contains pigments that give the corals their colour, the exodus leaves the coral transparent, exposing their white skeletons. But why does this happen? Why, during a time of stress, would the algae leave its safe place or the coral expel its food source? This question was raised on Reddit recently, and the top comment said, "It's ejecting its food source in what appears to be an attempt to cool down by reflecting more sunlight." This makes some intuitive sense. White reflects sunlight and the sun is hot, but it's more complex than that. Corals live in shallow tropical waters. This means they are exposed to a lot of sunlight, and usually in these circumstances animals want to be dark. In humans, we use a pigment called melanin to protect against the sun. Sunlight damages our DNA, and we want to protect that DNA. So after exposure to the sun, our skin cells will produce more melanin and become darker. That melanin absorbs UV sunlight before it reaches the rest of your cell. This transforms the dangerous UV light energy into harmless heat energy. And corals work much the same way. The algae produces a large array of colourful pigments to protect itself and the coral from the sun. In fact, if you snorkel the same reefs in winter and summer, the summer corals should be more brilliant as they are trying harder to protect themselves from the sun. Now, bleaching seems counterintuitive. During the hottest times, coral is making itself more susceptible to sunlight. This is odd. Something else must be wrong. Now, the algae is similar to a plant. In the simplest terms, this means it absorbs carbon dioxide and water and uses chlorophyll, which is also a pigment, to capture light energy to produce oxygen and sugar. But as we've just seen, sunlight is damaging, and it's particularly damaging to chlorophyll. So whilst chlorophyll uses sunlight, it is simultaneously damaged by sunlight. All plants have to deal with this, and they've gotten really good at repairing this sun-damaged chlorophyll. So at any one time, there is always a balance between chlorophyll being damaged and chlorophyll being repaired. And plants really need to repair their chlorophyll, because not only does the damage slow down the production of their food, it also creates nasty chemicals. A healthy chlorophyll will produce lots of the lovely molecular oxygen that we breathe every day, but the damage will cause an increase in what's called reactive oxygen species, a group of molecules that are very reactive and cause damage all over the place. So what's happening with bleached coral? The proteins that repair chlorophyll work best in a certain temperature, and warm water slows down this repair job. This starts to create a downward spiral. As more reactive oxygen is created, it also damages more chlorophyll, which then creates more reactive oxygen. This is too dangerous for the coral, and it has to reject the source of the reactive oxygen, even if it means injecting its food source and sun protection. And the algae itself is capable of doing this. In some cases of bleaching, the algae isn't ejected, just the chlorophyll. And if the chlorophyll is the only pigment in that algae, it will also lose all of its colour. Now, there are still many questions about coral bleaching. There are more ways to trigger bleaching, and we still don't know why the algae is so sensitive to temperature. Most plants and algae can withstand much higher temperatures than coral. But the main process of bleaching seems to be a last-ditch attempt to rescue the coral from toxic reactive oxygen. If the corals don't starve during the heat wave, they can be recolonized. If not, other life will grow on their dead skeletons.